Casting with Ceri Jones.
Garnffrwd is the longest running stillwater fishery in Wales, and next year will see its 35 years anniversary. It was originally created by Colin Miller, but is now run by his son Jamie. While other stillwater fisheries have fallen by the wayside and closed, Garnffrwd has certainly grown from strength to strength. As you drive through the entrance, you pass the house, down the track, leading to the car park, and then a short walk takes you to the lakeside lodge. It is here you get your ticket, as well as flies, leader and some tackle. As Jamie is a passionate fly fisherman himself, he will help you with any advice and fly choice needed. But if you're like me, don't be too keen to get onto the water's edge, but to order one of Christine's full breakfast at the restaurant upstairs overlooking the 4.5 acre lake. Then you're ready for action. So I get there about 9:15 and had a coffee with Jamie. Initially I thought it'd be like a 20-minute chat, but I didn't actually get on the lake till gone 11:30. I'm not sure if it's a ploy actually to him to keep me away from catching fish. I tackle up with my 10-foot for a 5 Loomis Stream Dance, loaded with a Cortland 444 Peach floater, 6-pound fluorocarbon, the dries being a black hopper, and a CDC shuttlecock. It was bright sun. Didn't expect it, to be honest, but at least we had a nice breeze and a nice ripple on the water. There were a few fish rising, not sure what they were taking. Whatever they were taking, they were really small, probably feeding on buzzers. It wasn't long before I was getting the offers. There was a lovely breeze on the water, fish moving, plenty to cover, and I took, in a space of about, I don't know, probably half hour, I had 2 fish to the net, both about 2 pounds. And then what I was finding, I was getting swirls, and then the takes dried up, so I knew something wasn't right. I found one fish in dries, really speaking 6-pound fluorocarbon is a little bit too much. And then the breeze dropped a little bit. It's only a hint of a ripple on the water then, but it looked like rope on top of the water. I really needed to go down finer to get the takes. The danger is, when you go down in size, especially when there's good fish in the lake, the chances are you're going to get broke. You might get more takes and might more hookups, but you're going to lose more fish, unless you're careful. I went down to 4.8 fluorocarbon. Again, the same flies, degreased the nylon with some Fuller's Earth, recast, and instantly I was getting the swirls again. And then all of a sudden, there was a little dimple of a rise. So I lifted into this fish, and then I knew he was something special, and I realised I was going to take a lot to keep this fish on. Instantly when I struck, this was a good fish. I saw his flank, and he had to have been all of 6-7 pounds. He screamed off into the middle of the lake before breaking me. It actually looked like a blue tinge to it, so it might have been one of the blues, which has been in the lake for quite a while. Annoyed at myself, take that leader off. There's no point. If you're going to be fishing and a chance of a good fish, go back to 6 pound, and that's what I did. Fishing one fly, I think it's fine. You can go down fine nylon, 4.8 fluorocarbon I was using. When you put a knot in it and a dropper, it's no longer 4.8. And I've yet to find any fluorocarbon below 6 pounds which takes a knot well. Yes, it's okay when you're fishing for small fish, but when you're fishing for rainbows or browns, when there's a likelihood of getting 3-4 pound fish, you've got to really fish 6 pound plus. Otherwise, you're going to risk losing the fish, getting broke. So this I carried on doing. I thought there's no point going fine, stick to what I've got, stick to the same setup. And then I rose a few more fish, and then I did eventually have another nice rainbow around about the 2 pound mark. I had a chat with Reese, took some photographs, which I wanted to do for the podcast. So we head in then, the 3 of us, to have lunch out on the veranda, upstairs in the lodge. What a perfect place to have your lunch. So it was 3 curries all round. and I can recommend it. After lunch, I didn't really expect much until evening. And talking with the local anglers, this was not to be missed, for the last few evenings was something else. So I took my time and decided to try the island by crossing over the footbridge. I remember in Colin's days, to get to the island you had to cross over by boat, which is quite an adventure by itself. But over the years, this is actually probably my favourite spot, and my preferred area to fish was on the island. But during high summer, because the water around to the left hand side is shallower, it can be tough, and the fish prefer to be in the deeper water around the dam. But anyway, it was the afternoon, so I thought I'd try something a bit different, because I was going to head to the dam for the evening. At this point, it's worth mentioning that the pontoons around the lake and the casting platforms are all covered by a type of artificial grass, which is so comfortable to fish off and good for your fly lines because you're not getting snagged. I moved a few fish and I lost one in the afternoon, but I wasn't too bothered, and I could see by the number of anglers coming late afternoon that word to go around that the evening rise was going to be good. So this gave me confidence looking forward to the evening. At around 7:30 the light was going, and so was the breeze. So I now decided to fish the one fly, a black hopper, on a size 12 and sparsely tied, and I went for the 4.8 fluorocarbon. The rise was starting. We were taking buzzers freely, bigger than the ones they were feeding earlier on in the day. But also, there were lots of longhorn sedges coming off, scuttering and dancing around the margins. I was getting a little bit of interest in the hopper, but just swirls and nothing really connected. There were about a dozen anglers around, and I could see no one was catching, and frustration started to show. What I found, when you get preoccupied feeding fish, sometimes instead of imitating what they're feeding on, it's worth going the total opposite way. So it's worth trying something totally different. So what I did, I took my hopper off and put a small tadpole with fluorescent green bead. Very often, using this sort of tactic can take the odd fish, but I found fishing it too much when you're casting and stripping back a lure when fish are feeding could knock them off. So it's worth having a half a dozen casts, and it worked. On the second cast, I had a bow wave coming after and followed, but didn't take. But the third cast, bang, I was into a fish, a gorgeous 3.5 pound rainbow, which really put up a great fight. Safely slipped into the nets, released the hook, and slipped her back in. But then I took the lure off, because I know if I'd have carried on, it would have put the others off. So I went back on the dries, but this time, instead of putting a hopper on, because I could see all these longhorn sedges in the margins, I put a deer hair sedge on, size 12, degreased the line again, and started covering more fish. The light by now was getting darker by the minute. Looking across the lake now, I could see the glow of the lodge in the distance. The sun had just set over the horizon. I could see another angler landing a fish. So maybe things are going to start to happen now. I covered a few fish. Again, 1 or 2 swirls, but nothing. And then I saw a fish in the margins, just casually coming up, taking these longhorns as they were coming off. This particular fish was making his way out into the lake now after having a feed. So I judged my cast and intercepted about a metre ahead of where he rose last, and sure enough, up he came. Took my sedge sweet as a nut. I struck, and again I was into a beautiful rainbow, a similar sort of size, around about the 3 pound. It was at this point I decided to call it a day, for to catch the last fish as I did, it was a perfect ending for me. So I headed back to the lodge to have one more coffee with Jamie before heading home. Garnffrwd is very much an imitative water, and April especially a special time year, as it is famous for its olive hatches, not to be missed. It's very much a forward-thinking fishery, even in its early days. When Colin stocked with landlocked salmon, today there are blues and tigers also stocked, as well as rainbows and browns which Jamie brings on at the on-site fish farm. The next week or so he tells me he's going to get a fresh stock of Arctic trout delivered, a genetic cross between Arctic char and brook trout. Now, I've got many different species over the years in the fly, and I've got Arctic char in Iceland, and I've got brook trout in the early days of Lower Moor Trout Fishery down in Wiltshire, and up on the Denbighshire moors and Llynbrennig. So the Spartic trout is now on my bucket list. So if you decide to go down there the next couple of weeks to try and catch one yourself, I might see you down there. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you catch all future episodes by clicking subscribe via the links on my website, castingwithcerijones.com, or via iTunes or your favourite podcatcher. If you like what you've heard on this episode, feel free to drop me a line via my website. Tell me what you've enjoyed, ask a question, or better yet, tell me what you want to hear more of in the future. And if you're looking for additional tips, tackle reviews or venue information, or just want to see what's been hitting the back of my net lately, search up Casting with Ceri Jones on Facebook or follow me on Instagram. And if you still want more, I'm regularly uploading video content onto the Casting with Ceri Jones YouTube channel, so just check that out and subscribe over there too. Wherever you follow, subscribe, comment or message, I look forward to catching up soon for a good fishing chat. Well, I think that's all for now. So until next time, tight lines and don't strike too soon.